a little early, which is good. Anyway, let's go ahead and we'll go with prayer and pray for this service. Pray the Lord will bless us together. It's always good to be here, and like we've talked about before, sometimes it's hard to get here, and sometimes it's difficult for us to get ourselves ready to get here. But I know for myself, I always feel better when I do get here, and I'm always glad that we have church. And I enjoy it, and certainly not a lot to ask of us to give for ourselves for an hour to the Lord. It's been good to us. So let's all try to pray.
It's possible that they're still having that Zeynep's prayer meeting for Zeynep right now. It's possible it's still going.
We'll go ahead and mention it now then. Y'all know Zeynep, Ahmed's daughter. Apparently, she's always been really skinny and sickly, had a lot of problems, and so she got married, and they tried for how long?
6 years.
6 years to have a baby, and she never got pregnant, or maybe, I don't know if she lost any along the way, but she, for 6 years, hadn't been able to. Well, now she's gotten pregnant with twins, and she's 5 months along, but she's gotten very sick, and has been in the hospital since the middle of August. So she's been in there for quite a few weeks in the hospital with some virus or infection thing, and they wanted to. She doesn't want to take any strong stuff because she's afraid. She's been the whole time afraid something's going to happen to the babies, because now she finally got pregnant. So she's afraid to take any medicine, or afraid for them doing the X-rays or anything. And some of the doctors have said, well, it's more important, let's just treat her and save her and the babies. And she's like, no. So, I don't want to do anything that's going to risk the babies. So she's been in the hospital, and said that she got better some, and then now she's back taking a turn for the worse. So bad that she was like, almost in a coma or something like that. What are you saying
Just
about?
that she had an episode that her eyes rolled back in her head, and
Her eyes rolled back in her head, and she really had a bad episode. So let's pray for her and they're having a prayer meeting in the Bravano tonight, or today for her. It started a little earlier, but since we're starting early, they may still be going on. So let's just go ahead and try to pray for her as we do pray tonight. All right, so everybody pray. Dave, would you start us off, please? And everybody that can pray. Heavenly Father, we come to you in Jesus' name, Lord. I am thankful, Lord, we have this church to be here, Lord, and it's something we need, Lord, and even if we don't always see it and don't always feel it, Lord, I'm glad it's here, Lord. This is our refuge, our place we can come and bring our problems and our needs to you, Lord, and we've got no other place to go, Lord. There's no other ones who care about us like you do, Lord. There's nobody that will listen and take care of things, Lord, for us, and always do it for our good, Lord, like you will. And I'm thankful, Lord, we can come before you tonight, Lord, and bring these things. I do ask you to give us a good service tonight, Lord. Help us, Lord, tonight to be able to get our hearts and our minds on you and to worship you, Lord, a little bit the best we can. Lord, we need your encouragement tonight. We need the Holy Spirit to help us tonight, Lord. That's what I hope we can do, Lord. And I'm blessed for the ones that are here tonight, Lord. And each one, Lord, there's a reason that you brought them here tonight, Lord. And I pray that you use this time, Lord, and we would use this time, Lord, not let it go to waste, Lord, not miss what you want to do here. Father, I pray tonight for each and every one, Lord, here tonight. I pray for Zeynep tonight, Lord, and I know that she can go by there, and you can do that. You can, Lord, you already given her the desire of her heart, Lord, and there's nothing too big for you to take care of, Lord. We've seen that time and time again, Lord. And I pray for her tonight, Lord, to raise her up, Lord. I pray the prayers to lift her up, Lord. I pray you hear these prayers, Lord. You touch her and you help her tonight, Lord. And we'll give you the glory, Lord, tonight, whatever you do. Father, because you're good, and I know you'll only do good for her. Help her and bless her tonight for Jesus' name's sake, Lord. Bless us now. Help us, Lord, to sing, to worship you, Lord. We want to tonight. I know, Lord, it's hard for us. But, Lord, I want to tonight, Lord. You're certainly worthy of it. You've been good to us, and you blessed our family, Lord. I thank you for each child that's here tonight, Lord, each kid, each adult, each one of us that's here, Lord. I thank you for them, Lord, and we love them, Lord, and I know that you love them and love us, Lord, and that's why you done all that you have for us, Lord, not because we're done any good, not because we're worthy of it, but because you're good and you love us, Lord. And I thank you for that tonight, Lord. And I pray for Dara tonight, Lord. Help her, encourage her, Lord. Help her to feel better for whatever she needs tonight, Lord. I pray that you just touch her and help her and raise her up, Lord, and let her feel better, Lord. I thank you, Lord, for the work you've given us here, the children you've given us, the home you've given us, Lord. You've given us a part of something wonderful here. And I thank you for it, Lord, and I pray that you help us, Lord, as we try to take care of it, Lord. Bless us now, Lord, and help us to sing, Lord, to your glory, Lord, Lord, and we'll give you the glory for whatever you do tonight, Lord. Father, I thank you tonight, Lord. Bless Shandy, Lord. I'm glad she's here, Lord, tonight, and a part of our family, Lord, and I ask you to help her, give her health, and help her, Lord, with whatever she desires, Lord. I thank you for loving us. And it's in Jesus' name I pray tonight, Lord, and I ask you to give you the glory tonight for whatever you let us do. In his name I pray. We'll take a couple of songs. I've already had one request, and so if anybody else has one, y'all get them ready, and we'll try to sing them after we do this one. Let's turn to number 35. Number 35.
So
Is there another one somebody has already?
38.
Number 38.
I walk by the tomb of Buddha, looked inside and saw his bones, traveled on to see Muhammad, still wrapped up in his grave clothes. Then I journeyed to a garden where old Joseph left him there. But the precious lamb, God's own begotten, was no longer in that grave. If you knew him like I know him, you would know that he's alive. If you felt him like I feel him, resurrection deep inside, you know he's living and death has died. If you're wandering in the darkness, come and step into the light. Nail-scarred hands reach out to help you, to pull you safe from death to life. Friend, I too have stood where you stand, yet I trust in things unseen. But just one step in his direction, then in love he ran to me. If you knew him like I know him, you would know that he's alive. If you felt him like I strength is almost gone. How can I carry on if I can't find you? As the thunder rolls, I praise you. You whisper through the rain, I'm with you. And as your mercy falls, I raise my hands to praise the God who gives and takes away. I'll praise you in this storm, and I'll lift my hands. For you are who you are, no matter where I am, and every tear I cry, you hold in your hand. You never left my side, and though my heart is torn, I will praise you in this storm. I lift my eyes unto the hills. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, maker of heaven and earth. I lift my eyes unto the hills. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, maker of heaven and earth. I'll praise you in this Lord. I will lift my hands, for you are who you are, no matter where I am, and every tear I cry, you hold in your hand. You never left my side, and though my heart is torn, I will praise you in this storm. I will praise you in this storm. Crossing the calm sea with Jesus, the disciples were getting concerned. The wind started violently raging, but he was asleep at the stern. Does he not care that we perish? We're helpless and we're so afraid. But Jesus arose when they called him, and he said, child, where is your faith? Because you prayed all night, because you held on with all of your might. Child, your Christ have awoken the Master. Oh, he knows your voice. Lift your hands, it's time to rejoice. Child, your Christ have awoken the Master. It hits you without any warning. The storm of your life had begun. Seeing no hope in the distance, you're frightened with nowhere to run. And by now your vessel is filling,
and you're thinking that you'll surely drown. You cried out for help from the Savior. Oh, and do know you can't give up now, 'cause you prayed all night, 'cause you held on with all of your might. Child, your Christ and will keep the answer. Oh, he knows your voice. Lift your hands, it's time to rejoice. Child, your Christ and will keep the answer. Child, your Christ and will keep the answer.
Amen. 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 Well, it's good to be here tonight. It's good to be here in church and have all y'all here. This afternoon, we were in town this morning with Jared, one of the dentists, and came home and she didn't feel that well, so she said she was going to take a nap, and I thought, well, I'll go finish up my message. Well, I see what she has to go through every day when she's around there, and her phone is the one that everybody's calling. Because I would write a line, look up something, and the phone would ring, or a ding message would ding, and I was going back and forth the whole time. I thought I was never going to get through this. And I told her at the end, I got it written down what I wanted to say, but I didn't ever read back through it again, so there's no telling how it's going to come out. But I pray the Lord will help me and help you all to get something out of this. I read the scripture to the Romanian meeting on Tuesday, and I saw something completely different, I guess, than what I thought when I thought about getting something together for tonight. I went back and looked at it, and I saw something completely different. So I thought this was something that more applied to you guys, because we've heard a lot lately about. We've heard a lot of preaching lately about how the time is running out for those who are not saved, and how that most people who don't know God or know Jesus Christ, or maybe, there's a lot of people out there who just think that the time's not coming, or that there's plenty of time left. And so we've talked about that a lot, and there's been a lot of preaching about that lately. And so as I was reading through beyond where I had read to the Romanians, I saw something I wanted to read here to y'all. And this is Paul, we're going to turn to the book of 2 Timothy. And this is what Paul wrote to Timothy. By this time, Paul was an older preacher, missionary, and Timothy, for 20 years, had been his student, or his protege, maybe you'd say. And so Paul had been teaching Timothy and instructing him. And at this point now, Paul was in prison in Rome, and Timothy was in Ephesus. And so when Paul was writing to Timothy, Paul didn't know if he'd ever see Timothy again. And so he wanted to write a few things to help him, instruct him, because I guess Paul knew he wasn't going to maybe get back and be with Timothy. So he wanted to write some things to help him, because Timothy now was taking over the church in Ephesus, and he wanted to give Timothy some advice about taking care of the church. And let's read in chapter 2. No, let's read chapter 3. Chapter 3, I want to read verses. First I want to read this, verses 1 through 5. And this is what hit me about the preaching being in the last days, and there's not much time left. Because Paul said to Timothy, "This know also, that in the last days perilous times shall come. For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, And what I meant to tell y'all to do, because this says in the last days, these are the kind of things that are going to be going on. And I wanted y'all to, as we go through these, just think of anybody, and I'm not talking about anybody at school or anybody outside here. Think if you can think of anybody, maybe just out of your family, that one of these can apply to, or more than one of them can apply to. And you'll be surprised as we start to read through them, and you think about what they mean, how many of, I mean, I really have to think of almost every one of them applies to somebody, you know. Okay, so let's look at again. It says, for men shall be lovers of their own selves. That means they want to please themselves. They love themselves more than anything else. Covetous, that means wanting the things that other people have. Can anybody think of anybody that might apply to? Boasters, you know, somebody who brags all the time about how good they are, how great they are. Proud. Blasphemers. I hope there's not any of those, and I don't know of any of those that are people that just talk bad about God. And thank God, I don't think that applies to any of y'all. Disobedient to parents. Well, that's one that doesn't apply, of course, at all. I can't think of one of y'all that would apply to. Unthankful. All of us that can apply to most of the time. Unholy, that applies to all of us all the time, I think. Without natural affection. That means, you know, natural affection is a man and a woman loving each other, getting married, and having a family. That's natural affection. So anything else is not that, is unnatural affection. Truce breakers. How many of y'all make a promise to somebody else and then don't do it, don't keep your promise? You know, I hear people arguing about, oh, you said you were going to do that and you didn't do it. So I think that probably you can think of somebody who's a truce breaker. False accusers. Yeah, there's a lot of that going around here for sure. Incontinent. Incontinent means not restraining yourself. That means you see something you want to do, you do it, and you try to keep yourself under control. Fierce. Despisers of those that are good. That's, you know, like saying, oh, I don't like him because he's always being so good. Well, that's only because of your own not being good, and you'd rather not be good, and you don't like somebody else to look good. Traitors, heady. Heady, I looked that up in the old English Bible, and it says heady is like a word they use for like beer and wine that's strong and makes your, it's a heady beer or heady wine that really makes you like lose control of yourself. So heady, a person being heady is somebody who's not in control of themselves. High-minded, lovers of pleasures more than lovers of God, having a form of godliness but denying the power thereof. And that's one that's probably one of the worst things, and that is having a form of godliness and denying the power thereof. Sandy and I were talking just yesterday, and she said she saw on a website a church that they were trying to invite other people to come to the church, and she said and I guess they put out newsletters all the time, and she says all they ever show them doing is playing ping pong and basketball and eating, and said never shows anybody actually doing church, which is what a church ought to be doing every time. But she says that in order to attract people, it's they want to call it church, but they don't really want to have a church. They want to just entertain themselves. And that's what a lot of churches do. And we want to have church, and so that's what we come here to do, is to have church, not to come to entertain ourselves. It's funny because when kids say, I don't want to go to church, it's boring. Well, it's not meant to be exciting in the sense that it's not meant to be entertaining for us, okay? It's important for us, but it's not just meant to be for our fun. But that's what people seek after these days. Obviously, we can see these things, okay, if we can see these things in our family, like almost everything here that Paul's talking about, if we can look around in our own family and see all these things, surely in the world, it's even worse. Okay, so not only, I mean, it's all this and more in the world today. It's even worse. So, and this is what Paul's saying. These are the things you'll see in the last days. So Paul's saying, when you see all this around you, then the days are short before Jesus Christ is coming. And so that he was trying to give Timothy a warning about these things. Let me read go back to chapter 2. And he said to Timothy, Thou therefore, my son, be strong in the grace that is in Christ Jesus. And the things that thou hast heard of me among many witnesses, the same commit thou to faithful men, who shall be able to teach others also. Thou therefore endure hardness as a good soldier of Jesus Christ. No man that warreth entangle himself with the affairs of this life, that he may please him who hath chosen him to be a soldier. What Paul's saying is that if we're in a battle, okay, and you've heard that a lot. We're in a battle with the devil. We're in a battle over the church, over the souls of our children, over so we're in a battle, and Paul's saying here that you have to think about it. Okay, if you're in a battle, then you have to be willing to let go of some other things. Okay, because he says here, no man that warreth entangle himself with the affairs of this life, that he may please him who hath chosen him to be a soldier. In other words, if you're a soldier and that's what you dedicate yourself to be a soldier, you can't be concerned about every other thing around you, because you're not paying attention, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. So he says you can't be a soldier if that's what your job is and that's what you're trying to do. You can't do that and be concerned about everything else back home, about the things that you left to come be a soldier. And that applies to a lot of things. Just like, for example, somebody who's training for the Olympics, they have to leave going out, playing basketball with their friends or whatever, hanging out, or they have to give up a lot of things because they have to dedicate themselves to what they want to do. If it's important to them, they've got to give up, and they've got to say, this is what I'm going to do, and they have to give themselves to that. And it's just like when you get a job. You can't, if every day you call in and say, I don't really feel like coming in today, so I'm not going to come today, or you always have a problem or always have a reason, and after a while your boss is going to be like, I don't want you to come work for me, because you haven't given yourself over and committed yourself to doing this. And that's what Paul's saying here to Timothy, that we're going to have to endure some things, which means things are going to be not what we want, not the way we want, in order for us to get what we want in the end. We have to sacrifice some things to do it. And in verse 4, Paul's trying to say that all these things that he's been talking about will keep us from serving God if we let them. Because if we want to serve God, all these things that I was talking about are things that will keep us from serving God if we don't put them aside. Paul talking about these things that we just read about in verse 21 of chapter 2. It says, If a man therefore purge himself from these, he shall be a vessel unto honor, sanctified and meet for the master's use, and prepared unto every good work. Flee also youthful lusts, but follow righteousness, faith, charity, peace with them that call on the Lord out of a pure heart. He says, if you're gonna follow me, you're gonna work for me and do something for me, for God, as Paul telling Timothy, if you're gonna do something for God, you've got to put aside these things. You've got to be willing to give up some of the things that you want to do to be able to serve God. And it also says his advice here is but follow righteousness, faith, charity, peace with them that call on the Lord out of a pure heart. Parents, kids always seem to think, why are parents so concerned about who I'm hanging out with or who my friends are? Because parents know that it's a lot harder for your kid, who may be good, maybe hard. It's a lot harder for your kid to be good if the people he's hanging out with are bad. It's a lot easier for him to be good if the people he's hanging out with are good. And that's the way it is as far as serving God. It's a lot easier to serve God. When I was a kid, I grew up in the church, and I was very involved in the church. I went all the time, and my grandmother lived not too far from the church. She went to a different church, but the church that was near me was just about from here to the store, say, from where my grandmother lived. I'd ride my bike up there every Sunday morning, every Sunday night, every Wednesday night, every Thursday night. They had something going on. So I was up there all the time because all my friends were there, and it was easy for us to, because it was all something we had in common. We had a common interest that we all wanted to do. When I got away from going to the church and being with all my friends being in the church, it was a lot harder to then go to church because all my friends were now going somewhere else, and all my friends had a different idea about what to do.